There's something about the Appalachian Mountains that feels older than the map says. The kind of old that listens when you speak. The towns down here don't celebrate Halloween the same way. They say the mountains already have their own ghosts. And every October, they wake up a little hungry. These are 3 stories from people who grew up here. None of them talk about what they saw anymore. But if you've ever been on an empty road in Appalachia after dark, you already know how the air changes when something's near. This is Halloween in Appalachia. The lights on Ridge Road. I live in the Appalachian part of southern West Virginia. There's a back road out here called Ridge Road. Mostly gravel. Nothing but trees. No cell service for miles. People around here say every Halloween, lights appear in those woods. Some claim they're lanterns from old miners who never made it home after the collapse. Last Halloween, my friend Caleb and I decided to drive up there. We parked off to the side near mile marker 9, left the truck running, locked the doors, and walked a little way up the trail. The woods were too quiet, no animals, no wind, just dead still. Then, about 50 yards ahead, we saw a light between the trees. It wasn't bright, just this dim yellow glow, moving side to side, like someone walking with an old lantern. Caleb yelled, "Hey!" thinking it was another hiker or a prank. The light stopped. A few seconds later, 2 more appeared beside it. 3 lights total, lined up in the trees, not moving. I could hear my pulse in my ears. The fog around them seemed to pull in closer. Caleb whispered, "They're coming closer." I said, "No, they're not moving." But I was wrong. The middle one started gliding forward. No sound, just sliding through the trees like it was on rails. We backed up fast. When we turned to run, the light flickered in front of us, blocking the path back to the truck. Caleb froze. I could see on his face he was trying to make sense of how it moved that far without a sound. The light started moving toward us, slow and steady. We sprinted downhill, branches hitting our legs, flashlight beam bouncing all over. I could hear Caleb behind me yelling. The truck's headlights were still on, cutting through the fog, but the doors were unlocked and open. When sure, we left them locked and closed. We both jumped in. Caleb hit the gas so hard the tire spun on the gravel. As we tore down the road, the lights followed, all 3 again, staying just at the edge of the fog behind us. Every time the truck jolted around a bend, they vanished, then reappeared closer. It was like they were matching our speed without touching the ground. When we finally hit pavement, the lights stopped. The rear-view mirror showed nothing but fog curling at the tree line. We drove straight into town without speaking. At the gas station, Caleb stepped out to breathe. His hands were shaking so bad, he dropped his lighter. That's when I saw the back of his jacket. 3 perfect circles of soot burned into the fabric, spaced like fingertips. He threw the jacket away that night. I haven't been back to Ridge Road since, but every Halloween, when the fog rolls in, people still post pictures online of lights drifting across that ridge. Always 3, always in a line. I don't care what they are. I just know they found us once, and that's enough. The Caymore Mine. I live in southern West Virginia, in the Appalachian Hills. The old Caymore Mine sits a few miles from town, carved into the side of the mountain. It's been closed since the 60s, after an explosion trapped dozens of men inside. Everyone here grew up hearing stories about it. Lights in the trees, voices down in the shaft. But most of us figured it was just locals trying to keep kids away. Last Halloween, me and 2 friends, Kyle and Ryan, decided to go see it. We were bored, half drunk, and thought it'd be a good dare. The road out there was narrow and muddy. No guardrails, no cell service. Fog kept rolling in and out of the trees. We parked near the end of the old service trail and walked the last half mile. The woods were so quiet, we could hear water dripping from the leaves. When we reached the gate, the fence was pulled open like something had hit it from the inside. The "Keep Out" sign was bent backward. The tunnel entrance looked like a black hole in the rock. Rusted rails ran straight into it. The air coming out was colder than outside, heavy and dusty. It smelled like metal and old fire. I snapped a few photos, and the flash barely reached 10 feet in, just stone walls and mist. Kyle climbed up on the concrete to shine his light inside. The beam caught a section of the tunnel. Then something moved. "Did you see that?" he said. I hadn't. Ryan said it was probably dust or bats. Then we all saw it. A shape at the far end, standing in the middle of the track. Tall, solid, not moving. We froze. The figure didn't step forward, didn't fade. It just stayed there. My light flickered, then came back on. The shape was closer. I told them we should leave. No one argued. We started backing up. Every few seconds, I looked over my shoulder toward the truck. When I looked back at the entrance again, the shape was gone. Kyle kept the flashlight pointed straight at the tunnel while we moved. Then we heard it, metal scraping like something dragging along the rail. Kyle dropped the light. We ran for the truck, sliding in the mud, hitting branches. I don't even remember unlocking the doors. When the engine started, the headlights caught something right at the entrance. It wasn't a full figure now, just part of one. Shoulder, arm, maybe a head bent forward. It didn't move. We reversed down the trail until we could turn around. None of us spoke. When we got to the main road, I finally looked back. From that distance, the mine entrance looked small, just a dark spot on the hill. I don't know what we saw. I just know something was standing in that tunnel, waiting for us to come closer. And I'll never go near that place again. Halloween night in the Appalachians. I live in southern West Virginia, deep in the Appalachian hills. It's quiet out here. No streetlights, no traffic, just woods. The closest neighbor is half a mile away. At night, the only sounds are the creak behind the house and the wind through the trees. This happened about 5 years ago, on Halloween night. I was living in a small cabin my uncle built back in the 70s. It sits at the end of a gravel road that used to lead to a coal mine, but the mine's been closed for decades. That night started normal. I cooked dinner, watched some old reruns on a battery-powered TV, and sat out on the porch for a bit. Around 9, the wind picked up and the power went out. That happens all the time out here, so I wasn't worried. I lit a few candles and decided to read for a while. A little after 10, I heard something outside. At first it was faint, a branch snapping, then another. I thought maybe a deer or a raccoon. I kept reading. Then the steps got slower, heavier. They moved around the side of the cabin. The sound of leaves crunching came closer, then stopped. I set the book down and listened. Nothing. Then a single step again, right outside the front porch. I yelled, "Hello?" No answer. I went to the window and pulled the curtain just a little. Couldn't see much, only fog between the trees. The steps started again, this time moving toward the back of the house. The cabin has 2 small windows in the back, one by the kitchen and one by the bedroom. I walked to the kitchen one and turned off the candles so my eyes could adjust. The sound stopped under that window. I waited, holding my breath. A few seconds passed, then something brushed the wall, slow, steady, like fingers dragging over wood. My dog, Hank, started growling from under the table. He never does that. I thought about calling my cousin, but my phone had no signal. I sat there for a while, waiting. Around midnight, I heard the screen door move, just a small creak, and then it slammed hard, shaking the windows. Hank barked like crazy. I shouted, "Get out of here," and ran to the door, but when I opened it, nobody was there. I kept the flashlight pointed across the yard. The woods were dead still. The fog had settled low, and I could see footprints in the mud, big ones, coming from the trees toward the porch. I followed them a few steps. They went around the cabin, stopped at every window, and ended right by the steps. I went inside, locked every door, and stayed up till sunrise. When I finally stepped outside the next morning, the footprints were still there, even though it had rained a little overnight. I followed them again, past the tree line this time. About 30 yards into the woods, they just stopped. I called the sheriff later that day. He said maybe a lost hunter, but there's no open hunting land that close to my property. He took one look at the prints and said they looked like work boots, size 12 or 13. Too big for any of the local guys. Every Halloween since then, I drive into town and stay at my cousin's place. I haven't spent another one alone out there. I still don't know who was walking around that night, and I am not even sure if I want to know. That's the end of tonight's Halloween stories from the Appalachian Hills. Wherever you're watching from, make sure the doors are locked and the lights are on. Halloween's getting close. Thanks for watching. No sleep tonight. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It truly helps this channel grow and keep these horror stories coming. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, sleep well.